I'm your host, Jason Tardik, and welcome to Trading Secrets. We talk all things money on this podcast, and we're teaching all the stuff we just weren't taught in the classroom. Nothing supports this show more than liking, commenting, and of course, subscribing. Welcome back to another episode of Trading Secrets. Today, we are joined by entrepreneur, real estate mogul, investor, best-selling author, and reality TV star Ryan Serhant. Ryan is the star of Netflix's new reality show, Owning Manhattan, along with being the former star of Bravo's $1 Million Listing, New York, and Selling Serhant, all of which follow behind the scenes of the life of luxury real estate agents. Ryan has established himself as one of the most successful and well-known real estate brokers in the world. He is the founder and CEO of Serhant, a multi-dimensional real estate brokerage that sits at the intersection of media, entertainment, education, and technology. Under Ryan's leadership, Serhant has since expanded to 7 states, grown its agents and employee roster to over 500 people across 19 states, and has amassed over 6 million followers across all social media platforms. You know, it's funny. I'm reading these numbers, Ryan.
You're still going.
I'm sure they've grown because you're growing by.
They have. I'm making mental notes.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure they're all
my side to update.
We would literally have to have this updated by the second to keep up with your growth. But today we're going to discuss all things Ryan's rise to success, the real estate world, how social media and building his brand has helped his career, and so much more. Ryan, thanks for being on Trading Secrets.
Thanks for that intro. People should listen to that intro at 2x speed.
Yeah.
It's just so much.
Yeah, there was a lot of action, and I missed a lot of it. But let's get into this. You were on the show back in September 2021. Last time we had you on
Zoom. Yeah.
At Zoom, right? And we talked about the days you literally ran out of money. Your quote was, "I'd rather regret the things I did than the things I have never tried."
That's true.
You think about 2021 to where you are today. These last 3 years have been absolutely massive for all things growth. What do you think has been the biggest move of all the things you've done since we last had you on?
Oh, at the end of 2022, I had to have like a come to Jesus meeting with like my team, because what I had built in 2020, I mean, I was a real estate broker from 2008 to 2020. Right. And then I said, I'm going to go start my own firm, but let's take some risk, but like, let's not ruin my life. Like, I'm not starting a widget, you know, I'm not going to go raise $1 million and go start something. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work out. Like, this is my life. I named the company after myself. It's my personal brand. I've been working on it for 15 years. Let's be safe. And I saw that by the end of 2022, the let's be safe kind of subliminal text that I was giving in meetings and on conversations was actually, let's go slow. Versus what I would actually say, which is, how come we're not growing? How come we're not going fast? And so I created 2 camps, which were grow Ryan or protect Ryan. And you can't do both.
Interesting.
You know, you can't do both. It's like, do you want to win the game or do you just want to protect the quarterback?
Yeah.
In which case, sure, you'll stop him from ever being sacked, but you'll never score.
Interesting.
And so you've got to figure out how to build an offensive line that allows you to protect the quarterback, but not at the cost of winning the game. And so that was a big shift in the mindset of how we operate the company that came at the end of 2022, which meant that, hey, let's go open a market a year, turned into 2023. Let's go open 7 markets at the same exact time on the same exact day. Let's move fast. Let's break things and then fix them, rebuild. Let's fly the airplane while building it at the same time. And I promise that when it works, the stress will have been worth it. And you just have to, what like Reid Hoffman from LinkedIn would say, you have to blitz scale.
I like it.
And so that was also at the time where $1 Million Listing, the format didn't make sense for me anymore because I wasn't just a real estate agent running around with cupcakes doing open houses, dressing up as a polar bear to sell something. And so I created this idea called House of Serhant, based on our Serhant houses that we have kind of around the country, and created a format for a kind of a new version of a reality show, which would be like an elevated reality. So not your structured, campy, smacking people, throwing drinks in their faces, but something a bit different, and pitched it to all the networks, went with Netflix, shot that in all of 2023. And then that just came out like a month ago.
Huge success. It sounds like defense doesn't win championships for you, but strategic offense does. When you think about your show, were you at all, obviously totally different format, different people, different everything, but you did see the success of Oppenheim Group with Selling Sunset. Was that any bit of inspiration for you getting your own show?
Yeah, I think that $1 Million Listing walked so that, or crawled, you could say, so that Selling Sunset could run. and then from there you had a lot of copycat formats, and then everyone's saying, oh, I can do that. Get 3 people or 10 people who have a job and stick them on TV. But then it's like the audience gets bored, man.
Sure.
It's all about the characters. It's all about the people. It's all about the stories. And our show wasn't the easiest to pitch. It was like, okay, it's going to be about me building the company, and I want to show that.
Yeah.
I want to show the ups and downs of building a company. To a network, that sounds super boring. Like, what are you going to show?
Yeah.
Emails? Like, what are you going to show? Like board meetings? Like, that's not exciting. Like, well, what if there's a mixture between everything people love about $1 Million Listing, Selling Sunset, the property porn, the agent drama, but then that has a baby with Vanderpump Rules, right? Which is like it's kind of an occupational docu-series with a mother hen on top. It's kind of me.
Yep.
And then went out on a date with Succession and Billions in New York City. And you have like high power, high net worth, a beautiful orchestra throughout, some voiceover. And you really try to elevate the story and create an 8-hour documentary versus just another reality TV show. And it either was going to really, really work or really, really not work. And thankfully it worked.
It's really, really worked. It's like a mosaic, right? You got all these different things moving. The other thing I found interesting, Ryan, is that you are, unlike most reality shows or docuseries, you are actually a producer on this show. And then I did some further digging. You got the production company, Serhant Studios. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but typical flow of show. Production company that's existed, that's done big shows, let's say Real Housewives in New York, they'll come with an idea, they'll reach out to talent, they'll cast, they'll then build the sizzle, they'll sell it, green light, film it, go.
Correct.
Was that the same process for you, or did you start with creating a production company first?
Yeah. So $1 Million Listing was that process. That's most processes. You have a biz dev team in most production companies, and they go out and they try to create ideas. They cast, they pitch a reel, they pitch the idea, they sell, a sizzle basically. You have some time to put together somewhat of a pilot or like a, like an 8-minute little like, hey, here's the show that you would buy. And then if it gets picked up, you do you put the series together.
Sure.
For me, I'd already been on Bravo. I'd done, 3 spinoff shows,
right?
The main $1 Million Listing show. And so I put the idea together, and then I went to World of Wonder, which is the production company based in LA, and said, listen, maybe there's a unique way to do this where I can supplement footage using Serhant Studios, which is here. That's super helpful. And we could do a lot with them. You guys could like run the show, like run lead, because I don't want to have to like show run and do all that.
Sure.
And then I'll produce and have it's going to be important to me to have my DNA in the look and feel, because I also don't want to ruin my life.
Of course. Yeah.
But everything that happened in the show was unintended. Like it just, we had 6 months to shoot, and they said, whatever happens, happens. Which was less pressure for $1 Million Listing, because $1 Million Listing says you have a year. Okay. We're going to track these properties. If they sell, great. If they don't sell, then we will fire you on TV. So there's pressure there. But with us, it was if they sell, they sell. If they don't sell, they don't sell. And then we'll just see what happens, which meant they filmed everything. Yeah. So it's super raw. It's very like I lost agents on my team. I fired people on my team. My whole career, none of that was ever filmed.
Interesting.
Because it was just a different way of creating TV. This one, they were there for everything.
As a producer, did you get any say at all as to the edits or no?
Yes and no. I also tried to take myself out of it a little bit so I wouldn't be so biased.
Sure.
And there were some things that I also wanted to be surprised with. Like I didn't know about for anyone that's seen the show anyway, the drama between Chloe and Jade and some of the stuff with Jonathan and Savannah, because I also was in the show. And so had I known too early, because I'm on the production side and editing while they're shooting, then my reactions to all of those moments would have been, I would have had to fake it,
Inauthentic,
I would have had to like act through it. And so I wanted to keep it as authentic as possible. And then we had a pretty structured post-production period that was kind of fun. And I was as involved as I had the time for anyway.
So you saw a lot of the behaviors, like you saw Jonathan doing his thing. And some of the times that you saw that, watching it back, that was the first time you heard about it, but that was the first time you actually saw it at all.
Yes.
Interesting. Okay.
Yes.
When you get the show though, you film it and then you sell it. Why Netflix, and did any other streaming services out there offer an opportunity in which you almost went with them?
Yeah, we had offers from Netflix, Amazon, and Peacock.
Okay.
Hulu, it didn't fit for them. HBO Max was like going through some crazy thing with all their ownership, and they were getting out of reality basically.
Okay.
And that's kind of it. Like Like,
so then how is the decision strictly?
no, it was dude, it was tough.
Monetary?
Peacock didn't make sense for us because I'd been on Bravo for 12 years and I was like ready for something new.
Sure.
Like I did it already.
Been there, so.
And so it was really between Amazon and Netflix. And I basically we took a week to sleep on it because they both were very different. They were going to be different productions, different people to work with. And we said, do we go with what's tried and true and the biggest in the world?
Yeah.
Which obviously when I say it like that sounds like,
No
sure.
better.
Yeah, exactly. Or do you go with like one of the biggest companies on planet Earth that has different ways to promote the show through shopping, that has different ways for us to promote brand through Amazon.com. Like there were so many things that we could do. But what ended up happening is I said, what's the call to action from doing a TV show in the first place?
Mm-hmm.
Like my job is to sell real estate and build this company and do our education business and do production for all the other things that we do. If I'm going to do this, there has to be a clean and clear CTA for building the business. And so I just started reaching out to all of our international clients.
Okay.
I said, do you have Netflix or Amazon? Netflix or Amazon? Netflix or Amazon? And every single person said they have Netflix.
Wow.
Not a lot of people outside. I don't know what the numbers are. I think Amazon says they have a lot. I'm sure they do. But as far as my clients are concerned, like in every country I went to, from India to Iceland to Hong Kong, Singapore, Cape Town, like everywhere, they all had Netflix, and our show would be fully translated and drop in the same day all over the world. Wow. It's like, so then I have to go with Netflix. That makes the most sense. And I'm glad I did. They were a great partner. They're still a great partner to this day. They were awesome. They gave me tons of freedom to be as weird as I wanted to. It's like, I want to open this show with voiceover floating over New York City. And they were like, okay, sure. We'll see what happens. And just like a lot of it, there's so many moments at the show that like they would never have been on Bravo because Bravo has a look and feel and a structure and a certain type of music. Like when you turn on Bravo, you know what you're going to get
100%.
Regardless of what the show is, whether it's real estate or housewives or this, that, like they look and feel basically the same.
Yeah.
Netflix, it's all different.
Yeah.
It's hard to tell. Like, so, we also had a lot of fun of telling the real estate story from the top down versus the bottom up. Like if you're into production at all, you can watch like $1 Million Listing, and you can see the camera oftentimes starts low, and you're looking up at buildings.
Sure.
It starts low. Our show, we made it, there was a real like production element where we said, we're going to start the camera swooping.
Yeah.
We're going to start with drones. Like we're going to start like Jonathan's entrance into the show. He's on his motorcycle with a drone coming down the canyons of Soho.
Yep.
And so it's like this top-down approach into every scene, even properties, Central Park Tower, it's droning right to the top of it, and then you go down in. Even like stuff and pulling up to buildings, pulling up in my car. Like some of the stuff starts below, but a lot of it was show from the top as we go down, which is just a different level of storytelling. Same thing with the story of our show. Like $1 Million Listing told the story of individual real estate agents trying to get to the top. So you started low and then you shoot it looking up. Like that's where they're trying to get to. And me, it's the story of Ryan who already made it to the top. Yep. And now I'm handling things on the way down. Yeah. And all the stress that brings.
That opening scene depicts exactly what you're saying, right? So you got the drone up in the top looking over New York City. The quote, I think, is cemeteries are full of wasted potential with your dad's story. Boom, right to you in the car. You talked
crazy
about
music. Yeah, we had that whole orchestra and everything.
Where the hell's this going? How deep we getting? All right, you talked about international. It's easy for us to look up ratings and numbers when you're talking big network. It's harder with Netflix. We do see that you were trending in the top 5 from the minute it was released. It's a huge popular show. Everyone's talking about it. It's trending on social media. But what kind of numbers do you guys get as it relates to international reach and ratings and things like that?
We don't. They don't tell me anything. All I know is like, I think in the first month, I think in July we passed about like 1 billion minutes watched. Okay. I don't really know what that means. Yeah. Like I can do the math. Yeah. But like, I don't know. I know a lot of people watched it. I know it went into the top 10 for 2 weeks, which is, I guess, hard to do. Yep. Especially because they put out a new movie and TV show like every single day. Like every day it's something new. You're like, oh, I didn't know they were doing a Simone Biles documentary, and then the Dallas Cowboys and this and then this and then this and then this. It's like, how do you compete?
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, and it was, I think it was top 10 in like 70 countries. Which I think is insane. Bridgerton is like top 10 in 160 countries and up there for a month.
Right. When you look at dollars and cents, do you think you made more money from the show and selling it to Netflix or for the impact it has to the brand? Not even close.
the impact.
Like night and day.
Yeah, dude. It's a marketing device. It's brand awareness. It's the earned media value for owning Manhattan is something like $100 million.
Damn.
Like, how would I ever? Like, I can't.
Can't touch that,
dude. Even if I was a billionaire, that would be.
You can't spend
wouldn't
that.
see, you know what I mean? It's nuts. It's an unreal. When the show works, if the show doesn't work, the earned media value could be like $500,000 because it shows up for a day and then the algorithm puts it out.
Could even be negative if there's a negative connotation to your name, which is everywhere in the show. Interesting.
So,
all right.
So far, so good. Positive content to commerce in a very intense way.
Okay. We had a guy who had a real estate show on Amazon, actually. He talked a lot about how he had to come out of pocket for a lot of expenses. Were there a lot of...
Tyler?
Yeah. Were there a lot of expenses for yourself where you had to come out of pocket?
Yes, but I'm so used to it.
Yeah.
I think Tyler hadn't done a real estate show before.
Yeah.
Had done other types of reality shows where everything is kind of pretty buttoned up.
Sure.
But when they're going to come and film your business, you kind of have to roll the dice and say, do I want this to look good or do I not want this to look good?
Yeah.
Like, do I want to have a party that is awesome on camera, or do I want to have a party that's not awesome?
Yeah.
And so I'm just so used to it because that was the same structure for $1 Million Listing as well. They're like, hey, we're going to follow you around as your real estate agent. If you are broke, we will show you being a broke ass real estate agent. If you are a broke CEO, we will show you doing a really lame 3-year anniversary party for your staff and your agents. If you're not, then we'll do that too. You let us know what you want to do.
I love it. I love it. Stay tuned to the recap. I'll tell you a story about one of the deals with Tyler and I from filming his show. So stay tuned for that. You mentioned real estate porn. We got to see a little real estate porn. You sold a rental to Bad Bunny, I think on the show, $150,000 per month. I want your take on this. I was just like, why the hell would he rent this? If you take a $20 million mortgage over 30 years at 6.5%, I think his mortgage would be less than the rent. It'd be like $125,000. What's the strategy from that end?
Yeah, I mean, I won't speak to that specific deal just because we have a pretty tight NDA on it. But what I'll say is people rent big, expensive things all the time.
Yeah.
Because owning could be forever. Like there is an expense to owning, no matter how much you're spending. Like you talk to anybody, dude, you're gonna go spend how much to rent a yacht for the summer? Why don't you just go buy one? Well, then you got to deal with it in November. You got to figure out where to put it in port when the weather changes. You got to pay that staff all year long. You got to have the insurance, the this, that, the other. If you're not going to be there all the time, it makes more sense. It doesn't matter, man. If you're making a significant amount of money, it can sometimes just be a rounding error and you're basically buying kind of the optionality.
Okay.
That's what people end up doing.
How on a rental deal, like I think it's very transparent how agents are compensated when they sell a deal. How are agents compensated on a rental deal?
It's anywhere from 1 month's rent to 15% of the annual gross rent. Okay. And you usually negotiate. I think on that one, it was 1 month's rent because the rental was large.
Okay. The big deal that was on your show, everyone's talking about the $250 $1 million penthouse in New York City you're talking about. There's 3,000 some billionaires out there. We just got to get one of them. Yeah. You offer $10 million in commission to one of your agents that could close the deal. Is anyone getting close?
They're getting close, but not yet.
Okay. All right. Would this be
maybe someone who's watching or listening to this?
Okay. Last time you were on the show, 2021, I asked you most expensive house you ever sold is $132 million in Palm Beach. This $250 million property, this would absolutely blow that. This would be the largest home you've ever sold.
Yeah. The price has since been adjusted to $195.
Okay.
That would be the largest single home. I mean, we spend a lot of our time selling buildings and, we operate in volume at this point because we're large. But yeah, there's only so many 9-figure homes out there.
Yeah, right. All right. Talk to me about, a lot of people are watching this show, and I'm getting flooded when I told people I was having you on. It would be a dream to work for Serhant. Oh my God. Like, I think the desire to get into luxury real estate is growing by the second. If someone were lucky enough to land an opportunity with you, how does that compensation work? Is it like, how does the percentages broken down? Is there a base salary? What does it look like if someone wanted to land a job with you?
So every market's a little bit different because every market has a different compensation standard and there's a different level of overhead and expense that, the company incurs. Okay. In New York City, we incur a significant amount of expense, and so as an agent, you sign what's called an independent contractor agreement. So it's an ICA that states basically the division of dollars and the expenses that both parties, both the contractor, so the agent, and the brokerage are going to cover. Okay. Sometimes it can be some advertising, it can be desk space. It could be it's a whole host of things depending on where that agent needs to be. But very, very simply, there's a percentage of every commission dollar that goes to the agent. There's a percentage that then comes to the company. Okay. If you're a brand new agent and you've never done business, you're usually, I mean, at our company, you can't be a brand new agent who's never done business unless you're joining a team and you become an apprentice and you go through what's like our 2-year apprentice program with that team, or you do enough deals. Usually it's like 10 sales and then you can go and start your own.
Yeah.
And you can't start a team until you've been in the business for at least 2 years and you've done a certain amount of deals anyway.
Sure.
So we do that. Most teams are anywhere from 60 to 75% on their commission split, right? Depending on their volume. Yeah. You know, if you do $500,000 in annual GCI, so gross commission income, you know, your split with me is going to probably be pretty low. If you're doing 10 million, your split with me is going to be pretty high, you know, and then we're going to have just different levels of responsibilities to each other. But we will operate really, really well with teams and individual agents that come to us who want to grow. Okay. Like we are not the firm for you to come to if you want to do a deal a year. Okay. You know, or if you want to come to and just do the same you did this year that you did last year. Yeah. If you want to grow, if you want to build brand, if you want to build presence, if you want to change your life, like we are the company to come to. There's plenty of other firms to go to where you can just not.
When you're hiring someone and they don't have real estate experience, is there any industry concentration that you've seen someone with an industry expertise in X, Y, or Z have success in luxury real estate sales? And if so, which one?
Cars.
Interesting.
Because it's easier to get into auto sales.
Okay.
You know, and it's a stereotype, right? Like the car salesman. Mm-hmm. But if you can sell a car to somebody, like you can sell anything, especially real estate, if you're willing to learn the information and do the work, you know?
Interesting.
Yeah. And so a lot of it's cars. But we have different types of agents too. We get talent agents, we get lawyers, we get music agents. Oh. It's pretty rare though that we find somebody in something that's completely real estate unadjacent. You get a lot of mortgage bankers, real estate attorneys, you know, who want to switch to come on the brokerage side.
We talk money on this show. You get into luxury real estate, you're doing everything you're supposed to do, and you're kicking ass. And you see this person. This is a made up person, and you're like, I'm blown away with this person. They're doing great. How long do you think they'll have to be in the game until they can earn, let's say, $500,000 in annual revenue?
3 years.
3 years. In $1 million?
I mean, could be 4 years if you're doubling your income every year.
Impressive, though.
Could be 5.
Yeah.
You know, it depends.
That's huge. When Maggie, the big scene where Maggie leaves your firm, the first thing I'm just thinking is this an ego play or is this a dollars and cents play? And so I'm curious from your perspective, do you think she made that move because she can make more money, or did she make that move because she wants to try and emulate or build something similar to you? Like, what's the strategy for a move like that?
Everyone has different reasons. I think money was definitely a part of it.
Okay.
But I don't really know. You know, I think Mel Robbins says, just let them.
Yeah.
You know, how much wasted energy am I going to give trying to fight someone to stay? Like, why don't I take that energy and put it into the people that are already staying to make their lives even better? Mm-hmm. And I learned that through that process. You know, we've been doing this 4 years now. I've only had like a couple agents actually leave, like principal agents, not like assistants or admins and stuff. Maggie was one. We've fired more agents than we've let go, which I think then makes the agents that we have even stronger and makes them want to stay because they're like, well, all the bad people, Serhant just fires anyway. So, you know, I don't want, and you go to another firm and you see that all they care about is agent count and numbers, and you're surrounded by people that just aren't at your caliber, and that's where all the resources go.
Right.
You know, if you're an agent that's been with me for 8 years, you're going to have like 8-year problems, which are serious problems when you have them. And if you have to sit next to somebody who's been in the business for 8 months, that person has 8-month problems 17 times a day. Yeah. So now my resources are going to the 8-month problems instead of the 8-year problems. Sure. And now the 8-year guy says, what am I doing here?
Yeah.
Like what am I, like, it's like bringing, you know, your Rolls Royce to like the bike store to get it fixed up. And you're like, wait, but I have a Rolls Royce.
Yeah.
What am I doing? Like, you don't want that. You want that kind of concierge level service. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of how I think about it.
One word you said there was resources, your resources. And when you brought in the PR agent, I was thinking about, okay, this is interesting. He's losing a part of his business, and now he's got to meet with a PR rep that he's hiring to kind of tame the beast.
She's been with me for a while.
Okay, and talk to me about how does the PR aspect truly impact your business? And does the cost make sense for PR?
Yes, absolutely.
Because most people come on this show and they're like, and they're not dealing with massive enterprises. They're dealing with themselves.
Yeah.
And most of them come on and they talk about, I spend 10, 20, 15, 5, whatever it is a month on PR, and I don't see the return. So this is an interesting instant response where you're like, instant return.
Yeah, no. Well, there's two ways to look at PR then.
Okay.
You have people that look at a personal trainer, they spend all their money with the personal trainer, and they do the work in the gym, but then they go home and eat a fucking yodel, right? And so then they're like, dude, I spent all this money on this personal trainer. Yeah. It's not doing anything for me. It's like, okay, well, you got to put in the work too. And when you put in the work will take care of you. Mm-hmm. But if you don't do that, right, it doesn't. Yeah. Like I have Danny here, right? He follows me around all day long. Yeah. We think through social, we think through engagement. He's incentivized to help us grow. Same thing with my publicist, right? There's base plus there's incentive. Like my whole life is incentivized. I want everyone around me to be incentivized. My first 2 employees were Alyssa, publicist, and Natalie, my CFO. Yeah. It's like somebody has to run the money because that's not going to be me. Mm-hmm. And then someone has to run image because that's not going to be me. I will do everything in the middle to make the image and to make the money. Yeah. You then do the two, right? And those are my first 2 key hires. And I would give that as advice to everybody else, unless you really love QuickBooks or you like really love calling reporters. I have relationships with almost every reporter now, but it's been a long time in the making. But then it's a muscle, I think you have 2 things you work on every day as an entrepreneur or a salesperson or a personal brand. You work on the reality of what you do. Yep. And you work on the perception of the reality. And so Netflix, for example, is the perception of the reality that I'm doing every day. Sure. Right? It's bigger than life. Yeah. It's louder than life. We are everywhere. Right? And by the time it comes out, which is 2 years after we started the process, selected Netflix, started kind of doing test shoots and all that, I don't want to shoot anything today that in 2 years from now I'm going to be like, no, well, I'm big. I'm this now. No, we do better things now. Yeah. So you have to constantly massage the perception of reality, because that's what creates personal brand and creates brand of product, while also massaging that reality, right? Which is I actually have to go out and do the stuff and do the work all day long. Okay, interesting. Tell me about, you've obviously been a great leader of yourself, building your brand, rising to the top, #1 broker in New York City, and arguably the entire planet. But now you have to lead, right? You got to lead, right? So tell me about the biggest differentiation you've had to learn from leading others as opposed to just leading yourself. It's the worst. Why do I do this to myself? Well, and some of the best quarterbacks, some of the best athletes in the planet try to be a coach, fail miserably. Wayne Gretzky, best hockey player that's ever lived the game. Couldn't manage or coach a team to save his life. Yep. Right? So not everyone can be the best at what they do and then transition into leadership. Well, so I wanted to sell more real estate in New York than anyone had ever done ever. Right. And I'm not from New York. I don't have those connections the way other people have, So I was like, okay, what's my way around that? Instead of making an excuse, there must be a win. Mm-hmm. And so the win is going to be, I'm going to do this for people. So in the early days for me, no one had ever had like a super sized team, because agents they did their showings, they made money, right? Yeah. They have an assistant, maybe a junior agent, maybe they have agents at different price points. It's just like, no, I'm just going to build the biggest team. I'm going to build a company within a company. There's no rules here. Yeah. So I'll just go figure that out. So I did build for a long time a huge team. When I started my own company, my team at my past firm was 65 people. Okay. And so like I had already been leading them. I had already built Sell It Like Serhant based on the TV show and the book. And we had a huge community of salespeople, and I was doing a lot of coaching and mentoring that way. So I had gotten pretty used to working through salespeople and leading them to whatever their form of greatness might be. Yep. And so I said, maybe I'll just do this for myself now instead of doing it for another firm. I'll go and try to build real enterprise value. And I would say, there's so many mistakes that you got to make to really just sort of learn. Yeah. The biggest thing that you learn quickly is when things go well, it's because of everyone else. And when things go poorly, it's because of you. Right? Yeah. Like when you win the game, man, the team played well. When you lose the game, quarterback sucks, right?
Yeah.
Way to throw an interception.
Sure.
And so like you learn that, and you learn that real fast. And you start learning how to make quick decisions. It's probably the hardest thing for me.
Yeah.
Because I want to like think
through it.
I want to think through it, and like every decision is monumental, and it's just not the case. You've got to be able to make executive, real-time, mission-critical decisions every day and just move forward.
Yeah.
And just
go.
Figure it out.
Get it done.
Yeah.
One question I have about the show, and then I want to move on to your take on the market. There were some questions actually were submitted to me about the agents. Are all of them licensed? And
always. Yeah,
every single person on the show is licensed? Okay.
Yep.
And then the biggest question in reality TV that I feel like it's asked for every single show, their docuseries, is, was there anything that's scripted? Like looking back at the show now, did you feel like anything was scripted? Or for anyone that says, oh, that might have been scripted, what's your response?
I wish. It would make my life so much easier.
Would have been way easier.
It would have taken so much less time. It would have been way, way easier. No, they filmed in real time. Even the voiceover moments, like all those stories, were just, you sit in interview chairs like this, and you stare at a camera, and they ask you questions. I'm like, oh, okay. So when he walked in the room, and then you start to slowly lose your mind because you sit there for 4 hours
saying the same shit,
and going over it and just giving your thoughts about what happened last week, what happened the week before. And so I start to just tell stories, and that's like my grandfather's story, the deal story where the guy tried to kill me, like all those little voiceover moments were just from that they took the audio from, and then we just laid it over, kind of scenes.
You can't get that if it's scripted. All right, let's get into your take on the luxury real estate market. So this was September 20th, 2021. This was your quote on my podcast. New York City market has been down for 5 years. Average days on market for luxury real estate is 400 days. I am waiting for the market to recover. I think we have seen that, right? Luxury home prices are up. It looks like 9% over the last year in the United States. So what is your overall take on the luxury market now, fast forward 3 years, given all the moving parts of an upcoming election we have?
I mean, the luxury market has stood the test of time. And the reason it moves so fast is because it's an investment in, an asset like gold. There will always be a buyer for that luxury home, whether it's a $10 million home in New York or a $2 million home on Lake Norman in, North Carolina, right? Luxury kind of represents, let's say, the top, I call it like really the top 20% of the market. Okay. In whatever market you're in. And that purchaser is always willing to pay for something that's ready to go and move in ready. The pricing has moved up 9% because the inventory is so low. Luxury property owners still also have loans. They have interest rates that are low on large dollar amounts. So every tick up in rates, you're not going to refinance out of a 2.5 and go into a 6.
Right.
Which is what you'd have to do today. So I'm hopeful that the market stays as strong as it is now, if not gets stronger as rates start to slowly come back down, which is what they are now. They won't go back down to 2.5 or 3%, but they'll come down to some place that the general public really can swallow.
Cool. And then last time we asked about this, I asked, other than New York City, if you had to focus your efforts elsewhere, where would you focus it? 2021, you said South Beach, Florida. And then you complimented kind of the political group associated with Florida, just saying what they've done for real estate, how they've made it attractive. I think you made a funny comment, like where people used to like literally go and die, now people are going to like build families and build empires. So do you think like it's the biggest question we're getting with anything related to the market or real estate market or interest rates, election, do you think the outcome of that could have a huge impact on real estate or the luxury market?
It could. If Trump wins, you know what you're going to get. And we'll see a repeat in markets as to kind of how he was running, when he was in office. If the other option wins, then I don't know, man. I don't know. When Democrats are in office, real estate is usually pretty strong because there's so much spending. There's so much spending. The dollars flood the market. I mean, look at the stock market now. Like it's trillions of dollars are spent post-COVID. And so there's so much money out there. People put it into companies, put it in markets. And so people buy a lot of real estate. But now you have kind of the stagflation with high prices, ridiculous inflation, high interest rates. And so buyers don't really know what to do. Unemployment is relatively still pretty low. So people have jobs. They might not be making as much as they want to. They might be kind of burning the candle at both ends. But they can't actually do anything because they can't afford where pricing is today. Right? It's pretty nuts. Like 5 years ago in 2019, before COVID, there were just over 80 cities in the United States where a starter home was like $1 million. Right. 80 sounds like a lot, but it was only 80.
Sure.
Today, it's like 250.
It's crazy.
Where if you want to buy a starter home, which is the bottom third of the market, you're going to be spending at least $1 million.
And when you say that, and you don't think with your crystal ball there's a crash at any point?
I don't know how the crash affects real estate. If the crash affects the stock market, if there's a crash that affects everything else, then real estate will come down just by default because there's going to be less buyers who are excited to spend money. It's going to be, the banks are going to be under pressure. Like you're going to see that. But I don't know. It seems like we have recessions on Mondays and we have bull markets by Fridays.
I know.
Like it's just, and everyone freaks out. Things get cheap. And then everybody just buys back in because there's, other than the national debt, there's just no like underlying threat to the way the economy is moving right now. And I think the Fed's just going to start bringing down rates just to pump things up a bit more.
Sure. Okay. Always good to get a take from Serhant, then look and see what it all happens. People are listening to this. They're motivated. They want to start interviewing and they want to get into real estate. I want to go to a situation you've talked about on a podcast with Jonathan. You said, knowing what you know now, you wouldn't hire him again.
Sure.
But for those people that are hiring or those people that are getting ready to interview, is there anything you would have done different in the interview process to possibly find some of the red flags that came to fruition?
It's hard, man. Like it's just real estate at the end of the day, So it's hard. Like you do background checks, you can do credit checks, you can ask for references, you can talk to other people. But it's hard unless there is public information that shows that somebody is a bad actor. And we run into that all the time, and we don't hire those people. We also now are a much bigger company, and we have a great agent base in all the markets that we're in. And so as we're bringing in agents in those markets, we can go to our own agents and own employees and say, we're thinking about bringing this agent on. Does anyone have any qualms?
Sure.
It's like a wedding, like speak now or forever hold your peace kind of thing.
Or you're stuck with it.
Exactly. But then if you make mistakes all the time, and it's like there's that classic saying of, quick to hire, quicker to fire. Quickest to promote. You always want to, and I think that's where a lot of leaders and managers forget, because people who are doing their job, you're like, oh, she's fine. She's doing her job.
Sure.
Yeah, he's fine. I don't need to worry about it. He's doing his job. He's good.
Yeah.
And you spend, again, all of your resources on the people that aren't doing their job, which is just backwards management. And so you need to focus on those that are doing their job well, to let them know how grateful you are for what they're doing and help them move up in the company with you. Otherwise, those are the people that are going to look around and look at Strap Resources and say, wait a minute, how much are you paying me?
What the hell? Yeah.
I can do this on my own.
Sure.
I'll do what Ryan did.
Yeah.
I'll go to another firm.
Right.
They're going to pay me, which is true.
Yeah. Interesting. One time we talked, I don't even think it was on the podcast, and it was about your courses.
Yep.
And so you built the courses so that people can't even, I believe, get an interview with you or be an agent unless they go through the course. And the course was like $1,000, $2,000. It's pretty expensive. And you had said how this has become like a pretty big part of your business.
Yeah.
Is the education piece still like a material source of income?
Yeah. So big that we had to change the branding and drop the Serhant name. So now it's just sellit.com.
Okay.
We did that in April because we just have too many people now. It's over 30,000 salespeople in 128 countries. We have one-to-one coaching. We have cohort async, which means like you take courses together or you do it asynchronous whenever you want.
Yeah.
We have live events. We have our next big event actually in New York City on September 20th. It's our big Sell It 2024 conference. And it's, so yes, I do tell people that want to come work with me, they have to go through it.
Sure.
But if you come and you're an agent with us, you don't have to buy it. You just get access to it all.
Okay.
If you want coaching, you pay for coaching.
Gotcha.
And people come for the coaching and they kind of like stay for the community.
Yep.
And then you get all the bonus content and all the courses and all that stuff.
Cool.
But yeah, a lot of times, any question you could ever ask me about anything ever, I've already answered. And it's in all the books and all the courses. So I just say, did you read my third book?
I like it.
No.
Okay.
If you didn't, then you can't ask me a question.
All right. I'm going to try and get a couple questions that aren't in those books. We'll go to a little personal stuff. What's one thing Ryan Serhant's just deathly afraid of?
What am I deathly afraid of? I don't know. Myself. I don't know. Like
It's a blessing and a curse.
The man in the mirror, man. Like, what is it? Like, of all the things I've lost, I miss my mind the most. I don't know. I think, dude, in a way, like that answer is a little bit of a joke, but at the same time, like I wish I wasn't so crazy. There's a part of me that looks at people who have much simpler, calmer lives, who are at complete peace, who found total zen, who like have their weekends, who like, yeah, sure, they don't have, you know, mansions and yachts, but they also don't have all of the stress and broken relationships and midnight tears that come with that.
Yeah.
And those people will live longer.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like I'm 40, I'm fully gray. I sleep incredibly poorly. And
same, actually.
I think there is like a part of my brain that pushes me to never have any wasted potential, and that I'm doing this for the greater good. And then there's the other part of me who says, fuck the greater good. Who cares? Like, why don't you just calm down and take care of yourself?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my answer.
You've done just about everything at this point. Obviously, there's always more to do, but do you have in your head personally defined when the enough is the enough, or do you not have that?
So I just turned 40 on July 2nd. And I made a promise to myself that I'm going to stop waking up every day trying to be important. And I'm going to start waking up every day now just trying to be happy. And if it's an important day and it makes me happy, then great. Otherwise, I just don't care anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, it's helped me make decisions much faster.
Yeah.
You know, and I was always so nervous about everybody's feelings and how they operate and trying to keep everything together all that. And where things are moving so fast and we're building so fast. So let's just keep it going, keep it going, keep it going.
Yeah.
Now, like 40-year-old Ryan, I'm, you know, my IDGAF era of like, yeah, you can figure it out. And if you don't,
you don't.
All
right. Another personal question I got for you. Again, APN right now. Unbelievable watch. You also wear a lot of these wristbands. Tell me about what's going on with the wrist. You got the Whoop, you got the wristbands, and you got an unbelievable watch on. What's the style trend there? Talk to me.
I have a lot of watches. I typically only wear the AP for work because it's so light.
Okay.
Like I have Rolexes. I mean, I have stuff. I have things. They're just bigger, you know?
Yeah.
And I end up, I type so much, so I end up taking it off during the day anyway.
Yeah.
I have evil eyes on both wrists, so I have that. I'm Greek Orthodox. My wife's Greek, so we converted. The red one that's here on my left wrist, my daughter Zena, who's 5. We're away a lot, right? Like I'm traveling all the time for work. She's away, and so she has one too, and it matches. So when we FaceTime, we both have the same bracelet on all the time. These I've been collecting on my wrist, and they never come off since 2014. When I got one, and then people watching $1 Million Listing would send them to me. They still do. I still get them. There's only so much wrist space though.
Yeah, there's a lot going on there.
So I put the ones on. Yeah, there's a lot of them. I put the ones on that meant something to me. Like this pink one is a woman who watched the $1 Million Listing growing up with her mom. I was her mom's favorite, and her mom died from breast cancer. And so I put it on, never took it off. The big black one is literally the same story. Dad died from prostate cancer.
Wow.
This one, I saved a rhino in Africa. And they gave me a bracelet. I was like, I guess I'm putting this on now. This one's from my wife. There's a red, white, and blue one that's buried in here from a military vet. Oh, we do a lot with Sellit.com with military vets who are kind of like, they come back from duty and it's, now what do I do with my life?
Yeah.
A lot actually go into sales. They go into real estate, but there's no training. Like they don't know what to do. And so they come in, and so we give away all of our courses and trainings and stuff to military vets all the time.
Incredible work. Some people get tattoos, right? It sounds like you got the wristbands. Those are your storytelling.
If I need to, I can take them off. But there's so far to be. And then I wear the Whoop because it kind of keeps the bracelets up.
A lot of action there. I love it. All right, talk to me about this. You've made a lot of money in your career. You've also seen a lot of people make a lot of money. This is also a finance podcast. Where do you see people fuck up the most when they're earning a lot or spending or losing money on investing? You're seeing a lot of people make a lot. You're seeing a lot of people spend a lot on luxury homes. Where are you seeing people make massive financial mistakes? Or maybe where in your past, when you're earning a lot, did you do that?
Riches and niches. Like, stay narrow.
Yeah.
You know, it's the people that take uneducated major swings where, sure, could the bet pay off? Yes.
Yeah.
But are the chances that it's going to hurt you much higher? Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
That's why you see me, like, I stay in my lane, man. Like, I started a real estate company, a real estate sales training company that now trains other people, but it's all within the same vertical, and a real estate media company. I write books about real estate and sales. I have a show about real estate. Like, I just latched onto this niche and said, if people can do the same thing for makeup, why not do it for real estate? and not try to do multiple things that I just don't have like domain expertise in.
Yeah.
I think the mistakes that I see all the time are people just don't have the domain expertise. They just don't understand, or they end up having like a lack of trust with partners.
Yeah.
I think that's where you see most businesses break up, is that there's just unaligned goals, unaligned visions, unaligned missions, which end up building resentment because there weren't clear expectations set from the beginning. That builds up a lack of trust. And then what could have been a great idea or a great business or a great company or a great potential future profit ends up just being a boulevard of broken dreams.
Unbelievable. All right. 2 more things before we wrap. What is the largest commission check you've ever seen?
Single check? I
Yeah,
think
not for like your whole agency, but like for one person, either yourself or someone else that you saw, you're like, holy shit.
$3 million, I think.
Okay, that's a good day. Not bad. All right, and the last thing I got, this is more of a general, but people are struggling, of course, with the price of homes. You already alluded to that. People are looking for tips, general tips, A to Z, not just the luxury market. What type of tips can you give someone today, right now, negotiating in this marketplace?
If you're looking to buy and you can afford the down payment and you can afford the monthly payment, then you're never going to find the house that you're going to love. Find a house that you like, that you can grow to love.
Yep.
Right. A lot of people miss opportunities because they're like, oh, no, it's just not right. I just don't love it. Those are the people that are also single at 50. You know, like nothing's ever going to be perfect.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. But if you can't afford the down payment and you can't afford the monthly payments, then don't buy real estate.
Yeah.
Like, don't stress.
Yeah.
Live with roommates, live with your parents, save up your money.
Yeah.
Like, is owning a home the American dream? I think it's part of the dream of like owning a deed where no one's going to take it from you as long as you pay your bills.
Yep.
Right? They call it the American dream because there are other countries where you can own a home, and even if you pay your bills, the country can still take it from you whenever they want. Right? Because you don't actually own it.
Yes.
You know, there's lots of countries like that.
Correct.
The United States, it's not the same. The government can come and take the property from you, but they have to pay you for it. They have to pay you market value.
Okay.
Right? That's where you see like the Second Avenue subway in New York City getting built, and all these buildings got turned into train stops and stations, you know, because the government went through and said, we need to put a train stop right here. What do you want?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it's eminent domain. They're going to take it from you, but they're going to pay you for it.
Yep.
And some of those were great paydays for people. But I would just be smart, right? Be smart, be educated, and do not rush. And also don't tie to, like, you can't catch a falling knife.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to get cut. You're not going to be able to time the market. And anyone who ever tries to actually time the market usually misses it, because you usually follow the media.
Yep.
And when the media is talking about how bad the market is, that means it was bad a couple months ago and it's already on the way up.
Totally.
You know, if they're talking about how strong it is, that means it's probably following. Usually do the opposite of what everybody else is saying.
Don't try and catch a falling knife. That is unbelievable. Last thing I got for you before we get your trading secret. We've talked about your success from 2021 to today. Last time we had you on the show, biggest regret from then. What was your biggest fuck up 2021 to now? Biggest regret, something you would have done differently?
Ooh. I would have spent more time with my family. Can't get it back.
Yeah.
You know? I do put everything into work. Like, I don't know, I'll wrap up today at 8 o'clock, maybe. I'll do email till 11:30. I'll wake up at 4:30 and do it all over again. And now I've made that my brand. And now it's what's expected of me. And speed to lead, response time. And it's just part of the machine now.
Yeah.
Would I have made a little less money had I spent more time with my daughter or wife? Maybe. Or maybe I just would have reset expectations. And I think I'm just always so nervous about going back to 2008, Ryan, like in New York City with $4, not being able to afford food and trying to figure out what the hell to do and just being panicked all the time. Like, that panic never leaves. Like, that gut feeling is in my DNA. And
was it your commission that year, like $9,000 or something?
It
like
was.
Your earnings?
Thanks.
Yeah. Just to remind you, never get back there.
Oh, dude, I never forget. Now I think a lot about myself in the future. Like, I do have a old man version of myself, like use that face app.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like, see what you look like when you're 80 years old.
Oh, yeah.
And that you're going to be that guy before you know it. And if that guy's not happy, it is your fault.
Yeah, that's true. You should check out, I don't know if you've heard about the Rob Dyrdek model. You know what he does for happiness?
What does he do?
So he had all these consultants come into his company, right, and optimize them. And he said, okay, I want you to optimize my life the way you do my companies. He's like, okay, what's the basis of it? Happiness. So every year for like 3-4 years, he wrote down all these numbers in an Excel file for all these inputs. And the whole idea was to see how he can become happier. every day he got a number 1 through 10 to the 10th decimal of how connected he was to his wife. She had to submit it to him. And what he recognized when he was filming is when he was eating unhealthy, he was disconnected with his wife, disconnected with his family. And so he now only films 4% of the year. So he optimizes his schedule strictly on happiness.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have like he doesn't have like a 10-year plan, a 20-year plan. He has a 500-year plan for if you are born into his family, a deer deck, how you can optimice happiness.
That sounds
crazy.
stressful.
It's stressful. It's a lot. Might be even more work.
I would totally fail. My wife would give me poor scores every day. Like, what do I do? I'm like, I can't stop work right now.
Maybe the deer deck model's not your model.
Up your score.
Yeah, just come on, tighten it up. All right, we got to wrap with a trading secret. It's something we can only get from you. We got one from you in 2021. Here we are in 2024. What trading secret can you leave us with?
Oh my God. What was my secret in 2021?
Oh, we'd have to go back to it. I don't know. We'll have to replay it.
Do you
listened
know?
to the whole episode other than the secret. Yeah, we'll replay it.
You're going to replay it? Hold on. I literally just wrote a note to myself. Where did I put it down?
I actually have your episode up. I wonder where it is.
I mean, I have so many, dude. Like, I mean, I don't know, to your point right there, and to the point of what I would go back in time to try to do. I think we all have big pictures for our lives and where we want to get to. And then we operate like today is the only day.
Yeah.
And you got to go today. I would say to be long-term greedy. You know?
What does that mean, long-term greedy?
It means don't be greedy about today. Like don't be greedy today with this situation, with this dollar, with this commission, with this opportunity.
Yeah.
Like be long-term greedy. Imagine yourself at 80 years old. Make sure that guy has figured it out and made it. But whether you make a little bit less money or you have a little bit less this or that, like he's not going to care because he's 80.
Yeah.
And you're not going to sit there and you're not going to remember that one deal that didn't go through because you stayed at the office till 9 p.m. and missed your daughter's recital back on September 5th of 2024.
Yeah.
You're never going to remember it. What you're going to remember is that you didn't have as great of a relationship with your daughter as you could have.
Yeah.
Because maybe she's not sitting by you,
It's kind of like your show. You talked about top-down approach.
Yeah.
I think that trading secret is like take the top-down approach to your life. I think it's kind of cool. All right, Ryan, where can everyone find everything you have going on, A to Z? This might take an hour. So
At Ryan Serhant everywhere.
Everywhere.
Just Google it, AI it, do the thing all over the place.
I love it. You're killing it. It's always good to see you. Thank you so much for being on this episode of Trading Secrets.
Thanks, man.